This is a story called To, to Protect My Children. Alyssa and Joe are both young architects, aged 30, and they are parents to 5-year-old twins Isabella and Isla. However, after being married for 7 years, they split up and Joe's allowed access to the girls every weekend. The girls look forward to seeing their dad every week, but after about 6 months, they both start having terrible nightmares. Every time their dad comes to collect them, they scream and cry and constantly say that they don't want to go with him. Alyssa keeps asking them why, but they just clam up and refuse to tell her anything. Over time, the twins become very withdrawn, and they have violent outbursts. Then one day, Alyssa's out shopping with the girls when Isabella points to a statue of 2 naked adults kissing and says, "Mummy, Daddy does that to us all the time and he hurts us." Straight away, Alyssa knew what Isabella meant, and she said to Isla, "Is this true, baby? Does Daddy hurt you both?" "Yes, Mummy, it's true. He hurts us all the time. Please don't tell anyone, Mummy. Please don't tell anyone, ever, because Daddy says terrible things will happen to all of us and all our family." "It's okay, my darling. Nothing bad's going to happen to anyone. I promise you, sweetheart." "But Mummy, Daddy killed our dog Jess just to show us what he'll do if we tell on him." "Please don't tell, Mummy, because if you do, he'll do the same to us and all our family," cried Isabella. "Hey now, come here, both of you. I promise you both, Daddy's never going to hurt anyone again, especially you two. Come on, let's go home." As soon as they got home, they had some lunch, and then Alyssa sent the twins outside to play. Excuse me. As soon as they were outside, she phoned the police and explained what had happened with Joe. When the police came out, social services came too. The twins were interviewed separately and then they were taken to be examined by a doctor. Once they'd been examined, the doctor confirmed that the twins had been abused. Joe was arrested, but he was questioned and released on bail. In court, the judge dismissed the case, saying that there was insufficient evidence. He ordered that weekend visits with the twins would still be allowed. However, when Joe came to pick up the girls, Alyssa refused to hand them over, so Joe went away and then he called the police. Alyssa was arrested and in court the judge said to her, "Mrs. Marsden, are you willing to allow your ex-husband to see the twins as you've been ordered to do by this court?" "No, I'm not. He's been abusing my girls for months and I don't want him anywhere near them." "Well, in that case, Mrs. Marsden, you leave me no option but to hold you in contempt of court for 3 days. Take her down, please." "No, please, you don't understand. He's been abusing my girls and I can't let him near them. They're terrified of him and they need me." "That's enough, Mrs. Marsden. My decision's final." Alyssa was kept in custody for 3 days. Whilst she was there, the twins were looked after by her parents. When she was released, the judge said to her, "Are you willing to allow your ex-husband to have access to the twins as you've been ordered to do by the court?" "I don't have a choice, do I?" "Just answer the question, Mrs. Marsden. Are you willing to allow your ex-husband to see the girls as you've been ordered to do by this court? Yes or no?" "Yes, sir." However, when Joe came to pick up the twins, Alyssa told him that they weren't there and that they were at a sleepover, even though it wasn't true. He went to leave, but he barged his way past Alyssa and grabbed the twins, causing them to scream and thrash about. They managed to break free, and as they did so, Alyssa pushed Joe out of the door, slammed it in his face, and locked it before he could get back in. He went away and called the police again. This time when the police arrived, the girls weren't there as they'd gone to stay with friends. The police arrested Alyssa, and in court she told the judge that she still wasn't willing to allow Joe to have access to the girls ever. The judge held her in contempt of court again, but this time she was held for a week. When she was released, the judge told her that if she went against the court order again, she'd be held in contempt again, but this time she'd be held in custody for much longer. She decided to take the girls to see another doctor, and she confirmed that they'd been abused. They were also seen by a child psychologist, and she got the girls to describe what their daddy was doing to them using play therapy. Afterwards, she also confirmed that the girls had been abused because no child their age could describe what they were describing. However, in court, the judge decided that there was insufficient evidence against Joe. He then ruled that Joe will still be allowed to have weekend visits with the twins and told him that he was free to go. Alyssa knew that she had no choice but to allow Joe to see the girls because she didn't want to risk being away from them again. She decided that she was going to get the girls seen by another doctor, and he also confirmed that they'd been abused. Once again, when the case went to court, it was thrown out by the judge, as again he said that there was insufficient evidence, and he ruled that Joe could keep his visitation rights. However, Alyssa decided that she didn't want him anywhere near the girls and that she had to get them as far away from him as she possibly could. She had family in Australia, and her parents contacted them to ask if her and the twins could go and stay with them until they found a place of their own. She told her family that she'd always dreamed of living in Australia and she would never be coming back to England, as she wanted to start a new life for her and the twins over there. Thankfully, Joe didn't know about her family in Australia, as she'd never told him about them. A few days after Alyssa's parents arranged for her and the twins to go stay with their relatives in Australia, they left to start their new lives over there. Alyssa's brother-in-law owned his own international removals company, and it was arranged that all of Alyssa's furniture would be held in storage until she found a house in Australia for her and the twins to live in. However, when Joe went to the house in England to pick up the twins and no one was there, he called the police again. When the police arrived and no one answered, one of them looked through the letterbox and said to Joe, "The house is completely empty, except for the curtains. I suggest you just let the matter drop, as there's not much we can do." "She's taken my children. I'm supposed to have them on a weekend. That was an order issued by the court. With all due respect, sir, I have 4 kids of my own, and if my children were being abused by their father, I'd do everything I possibly could to get them as far away from him as I possibly could. There's nothing we can do now, sir, so I suggest that you go home." Joe went home, but he was adamant that he was going to find Alyssa and the twins. He went to Alyssa's parents' house, but they wouldn't tell him anything. So he threatened them, but they still wouldn't tell him anything. So he smashed up their house. Then he went to Alyssa's sister's house, and when her and her husband wouldn't tell him anything either, he did the same thing there. The police were called and he was arrested. In court, he was issued with an unlimited restraining order, saying that he was never allowed to go anywhere near Alyssa's family again. However, this didn't stop him from going to their houses, ringing them up and badgering them to tell him where Alyssa and the twins were. When they wouldn't tell him anything, he became violent and he punched Alyssa's mum in the face. When her dad stepped in, he tried to hit him, but just at that moment the police arrived and arrested him. He was told to stay away from Alyssa's family or face jail, but he took no notice. He decided to step up his game by visiting Alyssa's best friend whilst her husband was out at work. He threatened to hurt her and her kids, and she'd just given birth a few days before. He tried to drag the baby out of her arms, but as he was doing so, her husband arrived home and the neighbour had already called the police. Once again, he was arrested, but it didn't stop him from going to Alyssa's friend's house. He tried to grab her kids, but her husband managed to stop him. However, Joe beat the man up in front of his wife and kids, and as you can imagine, they were terrified. Joe was arrested again and told to stay away from that family too. However, as usual, he took no notice and he went back to the house. This time they didn't answer and he knew that they were in, so he kicked the door down. The police arrested him again, but Alyssa's family and her friend had decided that they were also moving to Australia because they wanted to be with Alyssa. However, when Joe was arrested, the police didn't let him go, and when he was taken to court, he saw a different judge, and this time the child abuse case was also heard, and he was sent to jail for child abuse and several other offences for a maximum of 20 years. He was told he'd be serving the full 20 years until he'd served the whole sentence. When Alyssa and her family and friends heard the news, they were overwhelmed with relief. The twins were in therapy and they were also in a new school. They were both doing really well and they were happy in Australia. In time, they overcame their ordeal. The nightmares and violent outbursts had stopped and they were soon back to their normal selves. After they'd been in Australia for almost a year, Alyssa met Jack and they instantly fell in love. She told him about the situation with Joe and he was very supportive. He had 2 daughters of his own from his first marriage who he had full custody of, and they were aged 5 and 6. The twins took to him and his daughters straight away, much to everyone's surprise, and they got on brilliantly. After Alyssa and Jack had been together for a year, Alyssa gave birth to a baby girl who they called Tegan. A year later, she gave birth to a boy who they called Lucas. 6 months after he was born, Alyssa and Jack got married, and a year later, Alyssa gave birth to another son called Harry. The family couldn't have been happier, especially now that the situation with Joe was over with, and the twins had settled down and were happy. The end. Hope you like it, guys. Thanks for watching. Love yous. Bye.